Welcome to WeEvolveTV, Dialogues on Love, Transformation and Empowerment. My name is Medea Chechik and I'm the host of the show. I'm really excited to introduce today my next guest. His name is Owen James and he's a medical intuitive and also the founder of the St. Francis Center for Healing. And the center is located in Grafton, Ontario. Welcome, Owen.
Thank you, Medea.
I know you've been, you've been a guest on the show before.
Yes.
And we had some very empowering, very powerful conversation on medical. What is medical intuitive? What is a medical intuitive? So I'm hoping that today you will talk a little bit also about that.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome.
Good. So, what's exciting in today's world, besides all the restrictions that are putting on things in the medical world, is the expansion in the medical world. Maybe that's why there's so many restrictions, because it's so expanding. Mm-hmm. With just here in Toronto, there are thousands of alternative healers of one kind or another. Thousands.
True.
Was kind of shocking to the city when they opened up alternative healing and suddenly thousands of people appeared. They thought there might be 400. So this is an exciting time, and in this time we have people who are really looking for alternatives.
Yes.
Because the medical world, as brilliant as it is, the world of science, this world of science has somewhat left behind the world of spirit and the world of vibration. So if we look at people like Dr. Royal Rife in 1935, where he was hired to find the cure and the source of cancer, and he discovered what cancer was. And
which is?
Dr. Royal Rife.
No, what did he say? What was it?
Well, he discovered what cancer was and how to heal it. And it was very simple, but it didn't make very much money for the pharmaceutical company that hired him.
But can you tell us what it was that he claimed it was?
I will. What he saw was that he could take a mutated parasite, virus, or bacteria, which was causing the mutation in the cell, and through a pulsation of a vibration, a particular frequency, it would change the pattern of that malignant bacteria or virus. They work together. And then when it became a benign creature, the body would consume it naturally. So that a lot of what we're doing today is along the same line. The many people who are coming up with both nutritional healing of the body, but also vibrational healing through thought, through transfer, like Reiki is one form of energy healing. And this is all very ancient. It's so ancient that you can see it with any animal. When animals love each other, they touch each other. When a mother feels something is troubling her son, she touches her son or her daughter or the baby or the cat or the dog.
So you mean this energy
is a natural
love,
energy that we have that is very healing. And if we don't have that kind of healing, we don't develop the limbic part of our brain. And if we don't develop that, then we have what's happening today in these very kind of mass scenarios in schools and army bases and things. So the limbic brain is important. And why is it important? Because it requires us to actually feel human feelings. See, reptilians don't have our limbic brain, so they don't care if another creature comes and eats all their young. They don't care. Because they don't have that connection. They don't have the mother connection.
Right.
See? But we have that connection.
Right.
And so
that's what distinguishes us as you. That's one of the difference between us humans and reptilian.
It's very much a huge difference. And so if we look to develop this in ourselves and take it to a next level, not just the mother touching, but the mother touching with a love and a consciousness of having learned something that she is capable, or he is capable of as a father, to be able to transmit an energetic vibration of healing or projection. So, for instance, I was running a group in Israel, and someone was very nervous. They were very, very worried. And I knew that they were worried about their daughter, who was in Miami, who was going to have a Bach operation. And it was getting very close to the time of this back operation. And he was so worried, he was only thinking the worst. And I suggested that maybe he actually think differently, that maybe he could send some healing energy. Maybe he could hold a vision that the surgeons will do the very best they can that day, and they will find the source of her pain. And so even before I finished, he held his hands up like this, picturing his daughter in perfection, picturing his daughter in a very light, bright way, in a positive way. And so this is the simplest thing we can do for ourselves.
Yeah. It's like what you're saying is like, instead of feeding vibrationally the fear, which is not even real anyway, because the operation in this case, in this example, hadn't happened. So it was not that it really happened, but it's the anticipation, it's the fear. So the fear is just a psychological thought. Rather than doing that, let's feed the energy the creative energy that can heal.
Yes, because if we think that thought travels faster than the speed of light,
exactly,
we know that it's basically instantaneous.
Yes.
So if I send a positive thought to both my daughter to not worry so much, that things will be okay, then I am sending an energy across wave lines.
Yes.
So we know that television, poor people in institutions sometimes hear 20 different TV channels in their brain. Well, how are they hearing that? It's coming off some satellite somewhere, and they're down on Queen Street in a loony home because they're hearing all this noise and they can't shut it off. See, or they're hearing radios. See, this is all being transmitted. In fact, just think of the miracle right now. I am talking to you. You don't see any waves coming at you, but you're hearing me, and because we were trained in English, you're understanding what I'm saying, and I'm not speaking in Swahili, so which would be difficult, but it would have a different vibration.
I don't speak Swahili.
So
I wish I did.
If we think that this doesn't exist, then we're all really quite limited and somewhat crazy.
But also, Owen, I'm aware as I'm listening to you, the words in English and all that, I'm also aware of the field, the energy that is being created between you and I.
Yes, that is very true. And if it's a positive field,
yes,
that's one thing. But if we come in a very angry home, in a very angry situation where there's yelling all the time, then it develops a very deep feeling of fear inside. And this fear creates illness. It creates anxiety. It creates an adrenaline rush. All the time our adrenal glands are in the state of fear. For instance, I worked with someone recently who, from another country, and their father was very strict and the religion was very strict. And he used to threaten his daughter that if she did this, he'd kill her. And that makes an effect. When you've heard that 25 times, that you are not really safe if you don't behave properly in this particular religion, then it creates some vibration inside. In this case, it created the fear of death.
Yeah.
And that creates a coldness inside. And that coldness is like the coldness of death. And so this is not a healthy environment.
And that covers your experience, that imbues your experiences, your thinking, how you relate with yourself, how you relate with life, how you relate with others.
So what we're attempting to do now is, for many years in the field of medical intuitive. And what is a medical intuitive? It's someone who has a gift or someone who has done a lot of training to be able to vibrationally see, hear, feel, think what is happening in someone else's being, their body, their mind, their history, maybe their past lives. And how does this complement where they are in what they want in their life, or the troubles or the illnesses that they are having, the imbalances that they are having. Because if we're balanced, we're healthy. If we're imbalanced, we are ill at some level, whether it's mental, physical, spiritual, it's there. And so what we're looking for then is this balance. Now, it's been a number of years that I have been slowly working towards creating the St. Francis Center for Healing. And why St. Francis? Because I feel the gift of St. Francis has been very present in our center. And this center is called the Sacred Arrow Peace Sound Chamber, where we do meetings and healings. And so now we have a group that comes together regularly, and people come with certain illnesses. We've had some unfortunate situations where we've had a number of people with cancer, some having just had operations, and we hold the vision for them and send energy. And the energy that we're sending is the energy of the idea to use this energy in the best way that they can use it. So instead of projecting that I'm going to cure you, what I'm projecting is for your body to use this energy in a way to manifest healing and balance. So it could happen in any way. Someone who has had some aspect of their body cut out that needs to regrow, it could regrow without scar tissue. It could regrow in perfection, because at one time we could actually do that. Kind of like a lizard that regrows its tail, or other reptiles that regrow. There are actually stories of children whose regrown fingers. There are people who have regrown teeth. Not because the tooth was hidden somewhere, they actually manifested a tooth. All of this is possible.
Now, has this been done consciously or like just?
No, it just happens because they are not blocking it.
Okay.
They have an idea that this could happen.
Okay.
And so these, you could say, in one aspect, are miracles, but they're obviously not miracles.
So what's in my mind right now? It's like, and I feel like it needs to be said. It's really aligning the power of thought with the power of love, and the power and that energy that gets created, and then transmitting that energy pretty much.
That is true. And of course, the clearer we are with ourselves. So the experience I have is, as we work to forgive ourselves, and if we forgive ourselves, we're able to heal. Because when we hold so much against ourselves, so many feelings of wrong, so many feelings of shame, so many feelings of humiliation and failure, when we hold these feelings and we cannot forgive the other person. I mean, the truth is everybody does the best they can. And all of this, in the end, is really just lessons for ourselves. If we could just look at it as lessons instead of that we're being persecuted or hurt.
Very good. Yeah,
And the other aspect is, can we own our own part that has played in this? Can we own it?
And that's really what it is. It's about recognizing and owning it. And then when you look at it, then making it almost like a choice to say, you know what, putting it in a different context other than I did this and I need to be punished for it.
Yes, because there's so much self-punishment.
Yes,
so
it's like, so much, well, it's done, it's a mistake, what can I learn from it?
You look at self-abuse. Now, people don't always think of self-abuse, but if we look at obesity, that's self-abuse, because this is our body, this is our temple. Why would I do that to my temple, except that I would be unconscious? That on one hand, I say this, on the other hand, I eat to where it's harming me. And it's not just that, it's drugs, alcohol. LCBO is probably the biggest abuser, certainly in Ontario or Canada, because they have a magazine to really invite women from 45 to 60 to become major alcoholics on wine. I mean, this is happening today. This was a program.
How do they do that?
Event. Because they have a multi-million-dollar magazine that's so beautiful that if you're not sitting at that table with that beautiful man with that bottle of wine and having that recipe,
the temptation, huh?
it's all advertising.
Temptation.
See, it's all advertising. There are two groups that they're advertising for. The other one is teenagers on beer. These are the two major groups that the LCBO is after.
Isn't that interesting?
Well, I find
you think that they do that
horrible, but
they do that with intentionally?
They do it literally with a consciousness to get this.
That's evil.
More and more people. Well, it is evil, really.
Really.
But it's no more evil than Pepsi Cola or Coke.
Well,
it's no more evil than those. Except alcoholism is what we're involved in our society, and so many young people are very unhappy in this world and look for other alternatives because they're not giving the possibilities of this new age type of healing, this what you could call the crystal children, or the other new higher consciousness young people coming in, and they're being taught the same stuff. I mean, I can't say garbage, but in some ways, some of it will never be used in their lives. Like, I would like to create a school at some point that teaches children how to heal themselves, teaches children how to hold a vision for what they really want in their life, and co-create in that visioning, you see. Because all children, or most children, can do it. Certainly my grandchildren can do it.
I know how to do it.
They're exceptional.
When I was a child, I was perfect, almost like a perfect manifester. I knew. I would think about something and I knew it consciously, I'm going to have that, and I would manifest it.
Yes.
I would have it. Then, of course...
And we give it up. We give it up. We're partly brainwashed to give it up.
As a teenager, I did, because I'd rather just be like everybody else.
So that's what's happening also in the Healing Center. To be able to come, gather as a group. At this time, it's all invitational in terms of anyone who wants to come is welcome to come. We meet a couple times a month on Sundays and come together voluntarily. We're not charging anything. There's naturally, it's always nice to have some donation to pay for the expenses, but this is not something that is being emphasized. The other thing I'd like to talk about is that one of the inspirations for this, and many people may know the Casa of John of God, because we are really blessed with some of the healing spirits that work in the center of John of God are also working with us. And not just St. Francis and Santa Clara, but even the founder of the Casa, Yolola, who started the early Jesuits. And I said, I said to him one day in the astral, you know, the Jesuits are not such a great group anymore. They've done a lot of harm in this world. And he said, well, that's not what I started. What I started had a true vision of a Christ consciousness within peace and help, to help people, just like St. Francis.
Yeah, weren't they following the St. Francis?
They were following really the original view of love, forgiveness, peace, and healing of Jesus. They were following something that came out, and every so many years, maybe 500, in between, comes a new person, like St. Francis, or the beginning, or St. Teresa of Avila, who started the Carmelite mission. She was the first sister who was allowed to pray silently. But then once, of course, the Carmelites went on, it became a very disciplined and a very painful order. I mean, I know personally that people were forced to eat off the floor out of a cat's dish as a punishment for speaking, as a punishment for not having their clothes right. So the order became very punitive. It lost the gift that St. Teresa had, which was very inspirational. But see, every so often someone comes along and reignites the fire of forgiveness, of peace, of love, of the commandments. It doesn't matter what language it's in. See, and love your neighbor,
and it starts with
so forth, so on. It starts with forgiveness.
It starts with forgiving ourselves.
It starts with forgiving ourselves. Because how can we forgive anyone if we don't forgive ourselves? How can we ask for healing if we are constantly feeling shame, blame, persecution, I'm not right?
And I find that, Owen, that for me, when I really focused on this idea of forgiveness a few years ago, through some of my own personal life, it had to do with recognizing, with coming to the core and recognizing that actually I was never really guilty. It was all really just mistakes that I made, just mistakes that we make. Like you were saying, nobody's really guilty. I mean, unless somebody does it, you know, intentionally, with the idea that they are aligned with harming and us. But for me, it's just mistakes that we made that we need to learn from.
Yes, and the one of the keys for me was that one was I was given this question. will you love yourself as much as I love you? By God. God came and said this to me, as ridiculous as that may sound. For me, it was not ridiculous at all. And at that point, having finally let go of an awful lot of the crap I was holding on to, what am I going to say? No, I won't love myself as much as you love me. And at that moment, all this stuff came up about my failures and things I had done. And I said, if I hold on to those, I'm kind of in the dark camp. I'm in the kind of evil camp to myself. Because I realized I was born innocent. And can I find my innocence? Can I refine and redefine my innocence? See, and so what we're attempting to do in doing any kind of healing, because we have to realize, of course, that we're just channels of this healing. Mm-hmm. It's not me doing the healing. There are people who are very powerful. Mm-hmm. But they're powerful because they are channeling strongly through themselves, or at some level they have an opening to do that. Mm-hmm. And so healing is everywhere. Mm-hmm. Healing is in the sun, it's in the moon, it's in the stars, it's in our loved ones, and it's in ourself. Mm-hmm. So, and there are wonderful things we can do for self-healing. See, just if you think about it, most people every day take a shower. Well, I think that that's one of the greatest ways for self-healing, because you have a million beads of crystal light pouring down your body. And if you actually use that in that thought, that I am clearing, but who doesn't feel better after you've taken a shower, right? Because it washes away. So there are other ways in healing that we wash away. Mm-hmm. See, we can stroke. We can stroke through our what's called our auric field. Mm-hmm. Our auric field gathers things. You know, you go into a supermarket, you go into a movie theater, and you watch a scary film and everybody's emitting fear. Well, you're going to pick it up because you're sitting next to somebody and your auric field's in their auric field.
Yes.
So we have these simple ways where we could just take our hand and just like we're brushing ourselves. We can do that in the shower. And of course, you can do lymph drainage where you brush yourself with a brush. And so this is one way we can help ourselves, is just get up in the morning and just feel that we are brushing ourselves. And there are many schools that work with this. There's pranic healing, there's Reiki. Many schools use the same techniques. Nobody owns these techniques. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. See? Nobody owns the projection of energy through your hands.
I'm glad you're saying that, because some people claim.
Well, that's what's happening today in the legalization.
We have this very amazing.
The psychotherapist, a homeopath, a massage therapist. It means, you can't touch somebody unless you're licensed and so forth. So this is all craziness, unfortunately.
I know.
See, but this kind of healing, when we did our first session in the healing, you see, in Reiki, you learn symbols, that you project symbols from your hand, not touching a person, just projecting these symbols. Well, what if we use the symbol of just love, L-O-V-E? See, this is what a mother does, a father does when they're loving their child, when they're loving their lover. You send love.
I did that once, and I wasn't even thinking about it. Ivan and I did it because our dog was not well. He hurt, he was running and he hurt himself, and it was just this natural compassion, and he was lying down and we were loving him, and we were saying, oh, and then naturally we put our hands there and I was saying, oh, you're going to be fine, all this beautiful, and literally he was fine next day. Mm-hmm. And we were like, wow. And we weren't even thinking about, let's do a healing, it turned out that way, but it was more like a very spontaneous wanting to extend this
and
love to him.
And we're all capable of doing that, because you see someone who's hurting, you want to put your hand on them.
Yes.
You see someone who's crying, you have a sense to want to hold them if you have this empathetic nature. Not everybody has an empathetic nature, but we're still capable of sending a thought of, I hope you feel better.
So Owen, can we put this in like, so what would, if you were to share with our viewers, like just like you were saying about the cleansing, the shower and just doing this with our hands, like what is it really, like you said it already, like it's using our thoughts?
I think it is just, let's do a simple healing meditation right now.
Okay, perfect.
Okay? So if we imagine that the sun has these beautiful violet rays. See, the sun has all the rays that we need. There are people who, the wonderful Indian man I met, he calls himself a sun chip. It's probably 15 years he hasn't eaten any food at all. He feels, after much research in India, that he just took the sun into himself. Not just gazing at it, but he took it into himself. And after 9 months of doing this, either at sunrise or sunset, for starting a few minutes, then getting up to 18, 20 minutes at sunset, he no longer was hungry and he stopped eating because the sun feeds him. And what happened when he trains people to do this is that cancer disappears, multiple sclerosis disappears, Parkinson's disappears, all these illnesses start to disappear because these people have taken the vibration of the sun into them in this quiet time of either sunrise or sunset. And this is very special. And it's important to have the idea to take it into oneself. So when we look at having a violet ray, there's a violet ray of Saint Germain, there's the violet fire, see the flame, the violet flame. This is purifying. Just like we buy in a store an ultraviolet light that purifies the water in your house. So we close our eyes and we imagine this color, the color violet. See, now most people start imagining it at about a 2 or 3 out of 10. But what's necessary for healing is an 8 out of 10, a 10 out of 10, a 15 out of 10. So it's like a dial in a light in a room. You
so intensifying it.
Turn the dial up. Now you turn the dial up and you'll probably be at a 4. This is most people. See? So you have to turn the dial up some more and you might get up to a 6.
It takes a little bit of practice.
It takes some practice, okay? And it takes practice, and you can imagine any color because every color
has a healing property.
We saw some beautiful rainbows the other day. Just thick, wide, gorgeous rainbows. Now, what are the rainbows? See, the rainbows are the 7 colors of our chakras. They're the 7 rays of the 7 houses. It's multiple, multiple, multiple. And we are essentially light. We're the radiant light of the sun, of the moon, of the stars, of the planets, and of God. So if we take this radiant light, which is the work of Royal Rife, because the work of Royal Rife, and many, many of the computer programs today that are self-healing programs, these are taking vibrations. Every color is a vibration. Every sound is a vibration. An orchestra tunes to 440 pulsations per minute. That's an A. You see, so all of these sounds, all of these pulsations are healing for us if we use them in the right way. And that's the key, is to find that place in ourself, that quiet place where we can say, I can actually heal myself. Now, sometimes it requires a lot of cleansing of ourself because we've eaten an awful lot of crap in our life. We've not followed very good diets, even if we try to sometimes today. We still need to clean. And so when someone calls me or I'm in contact with someone anywhere in the world, in terms of the medical intuitive work that I do, I say the first thing is clean, 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 and clean some more. See, and there are many ways to clean the system. And the second part is, what am I putting in my system to dirty it up? What kind of combinations of food? What kind of hamburger and buns, McDonald's or Burger King, or even if I'm eating organically, you see, is my body clean enough to be able to absorb what I'm putting in? Are the vitamins I'm using vitamins that are not synthetic, but vitamins that my body can use as a food.
Or from natural sources.
From natural sources.
Food directly.
Now, I mean, it's
food.
true that if someone really is so depleted, they can buy a Walmart vitamin and they'll get help from it. But in the long run, it will become a poison.
A Walmart vitamin.
Well, because these are all synthetic, you know, it's $7 and...
So I'm Owen, by the way, I'm practicing the violet light inside of me as I'm listening to you.
Good, thank you. Thank you. I find that I am also. And so this can be anywhere at a stoplight while you're waiting for the light to change. So the other thing that is very important for people, because so few people actually live in their body. I mean, that's one reason I think we have such trouble in our world, so much cancer, so much obesity, so much alcoholism.
It's such a disconnect.
Is this disconnect, this unhappiness, this stress. And so one of the meditations I give people is just feel your feet.
Your spine.
Just feel inside. I mean, it's nice to actually feel your feet, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about sensing, thinking, the sensation of your feet, and then your knees, and then your hips, and then your spine, and then your elbow, and then your hands, in any order that you wish to go. To the top of your head, finding the core of who I am, finding that candle that's lit inside of myself, my own internal flame. Is it lit or is it out?
That's a very good thing. It's a very good point. I like that image of like, I'm going to use that in my meditation to lit my flame.
Well, we have a flame, you see.
To increase it, to
know it's there.
Yeah, but also to connect with it.
And to maintain
Connect with it, yes.
To see that it's actually always lit and not going out. Because if you
That's
think about
beautiful,
the multi-millions of people who are on Prozac or antidepressants, you see so many of these people, why would we have so many millions of people on antidepressants
Actually,
today?
apparently now, family doctors just, if you go to a family doctor and you are not feeling well, they just take an antidepressant. It's like it's given like just like vitamin C or and to me that's very wrong. It shouldn't,
Well, if you don't find the source of the imbalance, then you do not find the healing. You just find a patch, a Band-Aid.
Exactly.
And so many people are on Band-Aids.
Yeah.
And we don't need to go into the pharmaceutical multi-billion-dollar industry scam that's present in our society. We don't need to go there. But we need to become conscious that if we're in that scam, who are we feeding?
Yeah.
See, there are alternatives, and one of the alternatives is, all right, can I stop and actually begin to forgive? I had someone the other day in my office said, no, I can never forgive him. And I said, well, it would be very difficult for you to get well then. Very difficult.
Yeah.
See, the other thing interesting about that was not only could she not forgive him, she confused the father who had done, yes, he had done some things, as many fathers have in this world, and hurt and caused this trauma. But the problem is when you're little, you look up at this big daddy God, and you start to confuse God with man. And God is not man.
Yeah, I realized it.
This is very important.
Years ago, I realized that I was projecting my feelings unconsciously, the feelings that I had about my father, to God.
Yes, this is common, and all I'm saying here is that if we don't have a clear recognition that man, woman, is not
humankind, yeah.
God in that way, in that specific way, of course, because we're all created. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking the confusion.
But that's the mind, the confused mind of a child that doesn't have the, the wisdom and the maturity, but also because there isn't.
Yes, and what happens from that is that we close our hearts.
Yeah.
And when we close our hearts, we build these heart walls, actually.
Yes.
I mean, one person had a wall that went out 300 feet.
Wow.
Typically, it's 60, 70, 80 feet, these walls. Typically, I'm talking now hundreds of people that I've worked with this heart wall, working to dissolve the suffering of this heart wall. And then someone says, how do I protect myself? And so, because the fear is if I don't protect my heart. And this is spontaneous with people. This is not something they've learned.
So can you say that, because we're coming to an end of the interview, can you just say that, because I think that, how do we answer that question? Because I think that would be really valuable.
We answer the question with the pain of our heart wall, and how do we protect ourselves? We protect ourselves because we become conscious. Mm-hmm. When we become conscious, we no longer have to, as a child, cover our heart up. Mm-hmm. Because we have a mind. Mm-hmm. We have a perception. First of all, we could say, well, everybody's crazy anyway, in a sense. Everybody is somewhat crazy. Just look at the human race today. Is it not crazy what's going on in the world? So if I realize that I don't have to take everything personally, mm-hmm. that it's not meant for me personally, and that my parents have no idea who I am anyway.
And whatever has happened and whatever keeps on happening, like we were saying, earlier in the other interview, is that it's really not a punishment. It's not a reflection of me having to deserve this, but it's more like it's happening because I need to learn something from it.
It's an opportunity.
It's an opportunity for our own growth and evolution.
If we can get past the self-abuse, the punishment,
so
the
that's
shame.
A very important point to start.
Yes,
to start transforming even how we relate to our own issues, breakdowns, conflicts. That they are not something that happened to us. That they happen because there is something that we need to learn.
Yes, and
so if we reframe that's.
It does. It appears though that it happens to us, but we have to get to the place where we realize that we have been a part of it. We have been in action in it.
Yes.
Whether one believes, say, in past lives or not, or families that travel together through karmic patterns. We all have karmic patterns. We come in with these patterns and we repeat them until we wake up.
So it's like you're saying, it's like taking responsibility for it, which doesn't mean feeling guilty. True. It just means, let me understand what the deeper meaning is of this.
Let me release it now and get on with my life.
Yes, integrate the lesson and then release the
I can find that my temple is really a holy temple.
Yes, that's beautiful.
It's the only one I'm going to have in my whole life.
So beautiful, thanks.
See, and if I don't renovate this temple and want to renovate it, then I'm going to have arthritis and all these kinds of things.
So, Owen, would it be possible at some point, maybe we'll have an interview and you do like a healing or demonstration?
Well, I would invite you to come to one of our healing sessions and let us demonstrate it, and
that would be fantastic.
Have people talk about their experience, and I would be happy for that to happen.
That's wonderful. So we come to an end of the interview. Is there anything that you'd like to say as a final word?
Yes, that it is possible to love each other, to open one's heart, and to love each other, because that's the key. And just this, I asked someone the other day, is there anyone you love? Because their heart was like 14 out of 100. I mean, it was close. Is there anyone you love? And they said, no. I said, what about your mate? No, I'm tired of him. I said, well, and then I remembered that they had a dog. And I said, do you love your dog? And their heart just opened. Aww. I said, well, then you better think about your dog a lot.
Yeah, good point.
And I ask mothers who feel so abused sometimes, I say,
the children.
Who do you love in your family? What child do you love the most? And their heart starts to open that way, even though it's close to themselves because they've been hurt.
Yeah.
Then their heart starts to open and they practice it. I say, practice that.
Yeah.
Think of this daughter of yours all the time. And people can get it. They come in and their heart's 25, 35, 40 out of 100. Why people stop at 40, 45, it's just something that happens. Your heart could be 100 out of 100.
It's amazing the children, that's normal, natural. But these dogs, it's amazing with the purpose that they have on this planet for us. They really, just like you were saying, they're really here to teach us how to love.
Bring healing. And also they sacrifice themselves sometimes too.
Yeah.
When someone's very ill, they will take it on and they'll die so someone can live. Dogs are quite remarkable.
I know they are. They're magical.
Love is the answer, huh?
Yeah.
Good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Owen.
Thank you.
That's been a great pleasure and very inspiring, this talk. And I'm sure that it has been inspiring for you as well. And thank you for having tuned in to We Evolve TV, Dialogues on Love, Transformation, Empowerment. Till next time.